Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country Show, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument and Sequoia National Forest, and the charming historic agricultural communities that make up Tulare County. Welcome, everyone. We are excited because March is the month of spring. Yes, it comes later in the month, but we're going to be talking about spring flower power in California's Sequoia country. And let me tell you, this goes from everything from the agricultural side of the region, which is pretty much the entire region, or going up into our national parks, Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, where some wildflowers there too. Lots of parks, farm trails, orchard and blossom trails, and then all kinds of community parks and gardens to experience as well. So we're going to start off, as always, we've got Suzanne Bianco over from Visit Visalia on the show. Welcome back, Suzanne. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here again talking about all the great things to do this springtime. I'm looking forward to it.
Don't you get a little giddy? I do. I get giddy.
Exactly.
When I see sunshine and the beginning of flowers, I get a little silly and giddy and start running around places.
Yeah,
You
I love the sunshine for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. So everyone, discover the sequoias.com is the main website for the Sequoia Tourism Council. And if you go there, you'll be able to link into the parks, the national forests, also into all the communities that Tulare County covers. So check that out. But also for Suzanne, go to visitvisalia.com. All the links are in the episode notes, as always, including the new California Sequoia Country podcast magazine. You've got the retrospective from our shows from last year. So that was super cool to put together. And so we'll be updating that every month. So check that out. We also have Holly Strite back on the show from Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. You can go to nps.gov/SEKI to keep up with their events, their park ranger programs, and road conditions, because we know that spring will say, here I am, I'm sunny, I'm beautiful, I got flowers, and then I'm going to give you snow in another couple days. Right, Holly?
Yeah, that's right. You never really know what's going to happen when you start getting up in higher elevations when it comes to snow.
Yeah, but you do get wildflowers in the foothills of the in early spring, right? And then it kind of creeps
Yes,
up.
absolutely. Yeah, the wildflowers have already started. And then the great thing about the parks and their diverse range of elevation is that you can just follow those flowers as they spring up throughout the different places in the parks. And it's really cool.
I love it because I remember that one spring going in, it was early April, and that's when we come back to Tulare County, and the yuccas were in bloom. There was like poppies looping, and then all of a sudden yuccas, and then redbud, and I just was like, dude, no, I didn't even know you had redbud here, and that was just. It's like, stop the car. And we haven't even got to the giant sequoias yet. So it
Yeah.
is gorgeous for people to go out to. Today, we're excited to have a new guest on the show, Kathy Capone. She is from the Tule River Parkway Association. Their website is tuleriverparkwayassociation.org. Again, linked in the episode notes. And we're excited to learn about this because there's trails and gardens, and it just looks like a wonderful community project and a destination for us traveling if you go to the city of Porterville. So, welcome, Kathy. How are you?
Hi, I am great. It is sunny and beautiful in Porterville today, and we have flowers in the gardens.
Oh my. So a lot of the gardens in this park, because it's a parkway, right? So that's more than like a standard park. You get to move around on trails, right? And
Right.
through
This
gardens.
is this is currently a 3-mile trail that runs from Plano to Highway 65. And in a section of this trail, we have the Tule River Parkway native plant gardens. So all of these California native plant gardens are adopted by community groups or businesses or clubs, and they were planted and are being maintained by these groups. The Tule River Parkway Association, which is a local environmental nonprofit, supports this effort. I'm out at the gardens every Saturday and Sunday, almost every Saturday and Sunday of the whole year, helping to support the garden adopters.
Oh, that is wonderful. So a lot of people investing time and money in there to make sure this happens, but this is getting the plants, right? Where the financial contributions come in, right? Is to help with that.
Yes, maintenance of gardens. Anybody who's ever gardened knows that their maintenance is the largest effort of the project. We have over 100 species of native plants in the gardens for people to see. These are also, you can find out what's there in the garden by using the QR code to the each garden has its own web page with garden plan and plant list. And you can understand what you're seeing as you're there in the gardens.
This is fantastic because I think a lot of times, and we have a whole garden show, Garden Gossip, and we are talking about this a lot on shows. A lot of people are growing their own food. And by the way, you can go to Woodlake Botanical Garden to look at what does grow. And, Tulare County grows everything. So it's like the, agricultural capital here of the country, 200, 300 crops, something like that. So yes, you can grow your own food. Woodlake Botanical Garden will show you that's like a demonstration garden, but the native plants I think is so important because what we see is people want to do it and are nervous about it. And then there's also this kind of um, just this myth or something of that native plants are not pretty. And we know that that's not true, right? They
We
are
know that that's
beautiful.
not true. And by coming to the gardens, you can see what they look like and, dispel the fear. And you can pick which type of native plant you might want to have in your garden. There are over 6,000 species of native plants in California. So there's a wide palette that you can choose from, both leaf color, flower color, time of year that it blooms. And it's and now there are nurseries in Tulare County which sell native plants, which is which has been a big hurdle for people in planting native plants in their own home gardens. And by using a website called Calscape, CALSCAPE.org, calscape.org, you can search for a particular native plant or use many functions of that website to help you select a native plant. And then it will link you to where in the state you can buy that plant.
Mm. I love this. I think, Holly, doesn't this also in a way tie back to health of the national parks as well, because what happens on the outside of a park affects what happens on the inside. So the more native plants, doesn't that help if a bird is flying from the park and says, "Hey, I'm going to go to Porterville for the day. I'm going to go have a picnic in the orange groves, but maybe I do want to hang out in my native plant part." Does that help?
Oh, sure. I'm certain that it does. Having those native plants around for the species that are adapted to be in this environment, the boundaries to us exist, but boundaries to nature don't really exist. So if you've got those same flowers, native plants, any kind of plant that's helping build habitat for that species that also may live in the park, and, each species has its own range of where they actually live. Of course, it just expands that beauty that we treasure in the national parks if we're bringing it further down.
That's
And
one
that's
of
the one
the
thing.
Oh,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say real quickly, the Dry Creek Preserve is a good example of not only a complete reclamation with native plant species, but it restored the habitat for a lot of the wildlife in the area. They recently opened up a native plant nursery, which visitors can volunteer in. They can help replant saplings or little, I'm not a gardener, but little um,
Treelings.
whatever, yeah. And so you can go there and see their native plant nursery, and they also sell them at the farmers market here in Visalia, the Saturday morning farmers market. So it's a really great opportunity for people to kind of see what that looks like, going to the Tule River Parkway to see them in place and what that looks like as they mature, and then be able to purchase those in their own home gardens for their own home gardens if they are within the California area. So I'm sure there's lots of places around the country that are doing similar work, but those are really good examples here in Tulare County that people can explore.
This is so
Yeah.
exciting for people to get to know about the plants of this area. And then here's the agricultural, and then we have the giant sequoias. I mean, this is pretty darn cool, and the sugar pines, because they're pretty big too. Suzanne, you're talking about Dry Creek Preserve. Is that open all the time for
Yeah, it's
people?
open year round. It's
Okay.
open year round, and the native plant nursery is open, I think, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Saturday, they have their display at the farmers market. So it's a great place for wildflower viewing at this time of year, particularly. Really a beautiful, dramatic scenery just outside of the national park in the foothills. So it's really just a beautiful place to walk through, and the seasonal creek that comes in, especially in the springtime as we're getting that snow melt. It just makes it a really lovely place, not far from the cities to explore.
Mm. You guys have beautiful flowers. I mean, I just remember in the national parks, just going from the lower all the way up, and then being able to have these other gardens and parks kind of support that habitat. I think this is I'm anti dead zones, because we talk about dead zones in the ocean of what happens with an oil spill or something like that can become a
Mhm.
dead zone. And it's the same thing in our habitats and our communities. And that's why, the Tule River Park Association, I think what you're doing, Kathy, and then, Kauai Oaks Preserve, Dry Creek Preserve, all of these parks, Wood Lake, Botanical Garden, it really helps create these habitats, and it just makes for a healthier, happier place because flowers make you smile, Kathy. That's why she does this every week, right? The
Every
flower
week.
power.
Every week. And we're having a wildflower treasure hunt. April
Oh,
4th, April 4th this year, we're having a wildflower treasure hunt, and it's open to the public. And we'll provide you the information. You don't need to be an expert. We'll provide you with pictures that you can look at and docents along the way. Um, Everybody come out and enjoy the wildflowers April 4th at the
oh,
Tulare River
awesome.
Parkway.
Awesome. Now, I know you have some other festivals. Don't you have a wildflower festival coming up too?
Yes. Uh, March 28th,
Mhm.
Porterville is having a spring festival. And then April 19th, SciCon, which is an outdoor education facility, is open one time a year to the public. Only
Oh,
one day a year can you go to SciCon, and it is April 19th. It's a Sunday. It's SciCon Wildflower Festival, and don't miss it. They have a barbecue. They have many exhibits. They have docent-led tours. You can go on trails on your own. They have a reptile museum, and it's a signature event of Tulare County.
mhm.
So everybody, you're welcome to the SciCon Wildflower Festival on April 19th. It's a Sunday.
Now, what about Arbor Day? Aren't you celebrating Arbor Day? You have an Arbor
Yes,
Day event?
every year we celebrate California Arbor Week, and California Arbor Week is in March.
Oh, okay.
National Arbor Week and National Arbor Day is in April. But
Mhm.
our climate and our seasonal changes, it is much better to plant trees and plants in March when it's a little bit cooler than April, where April starts to transitions into May and June, where it's very hot and very hard for very young plants to live through that time period. So California has our Arbor Week in March, and March 14th, we're planting 25 valley oaks along the Tule River Parkway. So each year, this will be the 6th year in a row that we're planting. And this is in conjunction with the city of Porterville. So the city of Porterville assists by installing the irrigation necessary to establish new trees. And then Tule River Parkway Association holds the event. And this year we're partnering with California Conservation Corps, the field office, Cesar Chavez Environmental Corps, to come and do the planting. But we're going to be supporting that on March 14th.
Excellent. I love this. I love this. Planting trees is one of the best things we can do for the environment. It gives us more air and it gives shade canopy, and oaks are just man, they're the tree of life, don't you think? They are. They really
They
are.
are the tree of life. They support more insects and birds than any other tree. So this is a valley oak behind me, a valley oak at wintertime. So a valley oak is deciduous. It loses its leaves in the winter. And this is one of the valley oaks in Porterville. So it's
Mm.
an ancient, large oak. It's probably about 100 feet tall and maybe over 100 feet wide. Valley oaks are a beautiful, iconic foothill and valley tree.
This is really becoming a garden getaway for people. And I said this a long time ago about Tulare County because you have so many of these, smaller parks. Of course, you got the national parks, the giant Sequoia National Monument, Sequoia National Forest with the giants, but all the wildflowers and waterfalls and wildflowers together. You can't beat that. But then going to all these gardens as well, and then going through the orchards and seeing food grow. I really want to call this a garden getaway for people who love to garden. And gardening is one of our top hobbies in the country, and people are doing it more and more. It's healthy, it gets families outside. And then it makes you feel good, and more art is created. So I know there's a lot of art events happening in the area too for spring, celebrating spring. So Suzanne, what would you say? This is a garden lovers getaway?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, because there are so many. I mean, let's not even talk about the striped adobe lily that is blooming. That's a really spectacular thing. But so many different, being a very prolific agricultural area, there is beauty in the blooming of the plants, the trees that are going to produce fruit later in the summer. So this time of year, we're starting to see all of the almond and stone fruit trees blossom, and that's a beautiful sight. People come from all over to take their picture of themselves from the edges of the groves. You can't go in the groves, but it's a really beautiful time of year. All throughout this county, you'll see orchards and gosh, acres and acres of any of that sort of stones. Almonds are very similar to, like, say, a peach. If you looked at so they're of the same family. And Kathy, you're a gardener, so you can correct me. But anyway, it's just really beautiful to see the pink and white flowers blooming on all of the trees. That'll happen through into March. Mother Nature is in control of that. We can't tell you exactly what that looks like, but starting now, as I've been driving around, I'm noticing that flowers are blooming, and so I think visitors would love to come and see that. And we have great routes for them to take just off of the highway, and instead of taking the highway into the national park, just take some of the roads through the orchards, and you can take a look at them on your way to the national parks. So, just a really spectacular area. And of course,
And
Ralph Moore is
April,
from here.
April is really more the citrus, right? April?
Yeah, then it moves into the April blossomings of the citrus trees, and we've got a lot of citrus in Tulare County as well.
Okay, so you were talking about driving to the park. When does the shuttle system start up again for people who don't want to drive to the park and
Yeah.
getting because once you're in there, the shuttle is year round inside the park, right?
No.
Holly, no?
No. So the shuttle, the external shuttle, or the gateway shuttle, as we call it, that sort of operates from Visalia up to Giant Forest, begins operation around Memorial Day, usually the Thursday before Memorial Day, and will run through Labor Day. And that is operational 7 days a week. It picks up down here in the valley floor and takes the travelers up to Giant Forest Museum area. That's where their transportation hub is. And from there, they get on the internal park shuttle. That's available for anybody in the park. They can park their car, take the shuttle to all of the top sites. And that also operates that same time frame throughout the year. On heavy holiday weekends, though, they'll bring the internal shuttle back. So maybe over the Christmas or New Year's holiday or Thanksgiving. And I'm not sure what else is coming up, Holly, where it might be running. But when they're expecting some peak visitation on those holiday weekends, they'll bring the internal shuttle in. So it's very valuable for visitors. It's time consuming looking for a parking spot. So the shuttle allows them to just drop their car off and then take the shuttle. It's a free hop on, hop off at all of the sites along the park route. So very, very good way to not get caught up in the congestion on the roads.
Right. Now, I wanted to go to meadows because meadow magic in spring, and it gets into that early summer, the meadow magic begins. And meadow magic is, like I said, magic. Holly, when does that kind of start? Like April, May for the meadows?
Well, it really depends because a lot of our meadows are at higher elevation. So it really depends on what the snow schedule is. So Mother Nature, again, how late we receive snow. And once that starts, melting off and it's a little bit warmer, then the meadows will start to spring back to life. But it will definitely depend on how late the snow is that we receive.
Okay. It is magic. I mean, there's flowers. I mean, there's just all kinds of lilies in there too. You were talking about the striped one. Um, Suzanne, so like there's all kinds of like I call them Turk's caps, but I don't know if that's the same in Sequoias. We get them on the Blue Ridge Parkway that I've seen, but I've got all kinds of lily photos from inside the meadows, and it's just all the butterflies come and all the bugs and the beetles and everybody's happy and the birds are like, I'm going to get you, you know. It's so cool that I think it's just one of those really cool ways of teaching kids the web of life is inside those meadows, you know.
Yeah, and they're also, even if spring hasn't sprung yet, viewing a meadow in the winter is gorgeous as well. I mean, if there is snow, still go see the meadow.
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from waiting until the flowers are there, because meadows are just wonderful year round. And then you can kind of really see the cycle of how that snow is really important. We know that like sequoias that are surrounding a meadow are usually more resilient because they have more access to water. So it's a really cool, I don't know, just cycle to see how meadows actually function and really support a lot of wildlife and plant life as well.
And everyone, you can go to Sequoia Parks Conservancy. They do a lot of programs within the park, and then there's ranger programs. So again, go to the park website. So Suzanne too. So we talked about Dry Creek. There's Kauai Oaks Preserve as well for people,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then there's art tours. There's a big one coming, right?
There is a big one coming up. The South Valley Art Tour is a self-guided tour for over a weekend. It's March 28th and 29th this year. And you get a map of the different artists whose studios are open to the public that weekend. So people can drive around, they stop in at the artist studio, they can talk with the artists, see them in their workplace, and understand how they are creating the art they're creating. So it's a really wonderful way to, kind of move around the county, number one, but to meet the artists that are, local here and see different artists and their work sites.
Yeah, and you could see wildflowers along the way.
Absolutely. You're driving through because this is a gigantic powerhouse of agriculture here in Tulare County. You cannot drive just about anywhere without seeing,
Mm,
blossoming almond and stone fruit trees, or blossoming oranges, or, fruit hanging on a tree,
wildflowers.
wildflowers. Yeah.
It's
So,
like the epic time of year. And the other thing I was going to say is the murals. You've got a lot of murals with wildflowers on them too, because who doesn't want to paint a wildflower?
yeah, right.
You
Well,
know,
a lot
so
of murals that pay homage to the agricultural,
mhm.
our agricultural roots here. So, yeah, lots of murals that sort of depict these assets, I guess, for our
Mhm.
county. They're just really wonderful. We'd like you to see them in person, but if they're not blooming at the time you're here, go take a look at some of the murals, and you can see what you're missing out on.
You were talking about the art tour that's coming up in March, but every first Saturday there's also the Three Rivers First Saturday, which is kind of like a mini art tour where you can go to the different shops, artist studios. They also have a map out there, and go and explore Three Rivers, which is really at the gateway to Sequoia National Park. So that's another wonderful thing you can do. And it really, Three Rivers is a long river, so it's a fun way to navigate the region. What about St. John's? Is that a parkway, Suzanne,
St.
for people
John's
to
River, it comes
river?
down out of the mountains through Kauai, and it is a sort of seasonal now because it is used for agricultural water. So it doesn't have water in it year round, but there is a trail that runs along from Cutler Park, which is one of the county parks, right along the river with the oak. Speaking of oak trees, beautiful county park for a picnic. But the trail runs from there all the way to the Riverway Sports Park, which is maybe 6 miles or so, and the trail goes underneath all of the roadways, so you never have to cross any streets, or
Mhm.
so really safe for kids. People love to
Nice.
bike it or run it or walk it, and you can, just minutes from downtown Visalia is a trailhead at Ben Maddox and River, and the St. John's River Parkway, and you can choose to go either direction, and just really explore. It's a really nice, again, kind of a nature walk, because there's lots of things along the pathways there that are interesting, from the oak trees and maybe wildflowers. And then you get to your final destination, if, for example, at Cutler Park, and you can just relax and hang out under those oak trees, which are, really beautiful.
Wow, this is fun. We got trees, we got flowers. I mean, bears are going to come out soon, right? At end of April kind of thing. Holly, any specific trails you recommend people that are like an easy nature trail where they may see wildflowers?
Yeah, I think that one of my favorite areas during wild peak wildflower time is right across from Potwisha Campground. There's a day use area. That one's really easy because it's flat. You can just go as far as you want to. It's not a super long trail. It's kind of just an area to explore. It's really great for kids too.
Mhm.
And it's got a really nice view of the river. There's a suspension bridge. So that's a great place. If you're looking for a little bit more of a hike, then I would recommend the Marble Falls Trail is one of my favorite trails to do in spring.
Mm.
Beautiful waterfalls.
I want to also go back over to you, Kathy, because don't you have different gardens like for kids and things like that so that they can learn about native plants? Do you help like the youth learn about what they're seeing?
Well, in our events, we have sponsored different events during the year to bring people out to the gardens and to help everyone be enjoy their day. Um, I want to really tout that wildflower treasure hunt. Last year, the children were the ones who were so involved with it. And they really led their parents through the treasure hunt. We give them a sheet of paper with the list of the plants that we want them to look for, and then we have pictures ahead of time, at the beginning so that they can see what the flower will look like. But the children were the ones who were, helping their parents identify the plants by using Cowscape and looking up the plant and saying, "Mom, this is the one here," or "Dad, this is the one here." And then they would come back with photos on their phone to confirm that they did or did not see the plant and ask questions about it. So it was the children using technology who were really leading the family treasure hunt. But also in Porterville and Highway 190 leading up through Springville, is they a road up to Trail of 100 Giants. So Trail of 100 Giants is a high elevation trail, which also has giant sequoias, a very accessible trail to walk. And I have a picture of a very good friend of mine. We took the drive up to Trail of 100 Giants. He was using a power wheelchair, and he had a great time on his power wheelchair on this Trail of 100 Giants. On the way up Highway 190, you can go to Camp with Sean and other locations with where you would see more lower elevation spring wildflowers on the way. So, in addition to going up to the high country through Highway 180, there's 198. I'm sorry, 198. There's Highway 190, which starts through Porterville up to the high country also.
Oh, it's beautiful. I've done that when it's in bloom. And especially I remember going through Sequoia National Forest a few years ago. It was after one of the fires that had happened and the whole it was just
Yeah,
blanketed with
yeah,
flowers. And that's the other thing after wildfires. It depends.
yeah,
That's a whole other thing. I know,
yeah.
Holly, you're going to say that's going to depend on how hot the fire was and all that kind of stuff. But fire brings flowers, it really does. And it's kind of this beautiful sense of renewal to see something that you're worried about come back and say, I'm here. It's such a sign of resilience. So, when you see those areas, yeah, the forest areas are beautiful too. But I was wondering if Springville's got to have a lot of apple blossoms out there with their orchards, right? Because don't they have apples out in Springville?
Yes, that's true. And this spring is the Springville Rodeo. Springville Rodeo is a big event. Now we do have the Apple Festival in the fall, where
Okay.
you be getting a lot of the products from the
Mm,
Springville apple trees. But um,
awesome.
it's a great opportunity. The Springville Rodeo is a small town, big rodeo that if you're a rodeo fan, it's a great place to travel to.
Funny
Oh,
story, I was driving up Highway 190 to get to Trail of 100 Giants, and we got caught up in a cattle drive along Highway 1.
Woohoo!
We're literally had to be guided by the cowboys on their
she got
horses that were
corralled by the cowboys.
we did to guide us through the cows that were on the highway to get us through. It was such a great experience. Springville is kind of a wild westy kind of town, and so it was just sort of in keeping with that theme and getting caught up in the cattle ride. It was
The other thing, Lake Success and Lake Cahuilla, aren't those other beautiful areas to go out to, because you'll see the flowers on the hillsides there at this
yeah.
time too.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
think I've heard that there's a possibility, maybe you can correct me, Kathy, that this might be a super bloom year. Have you heard that yet?
Uh, it is what it is.
It
You
is
have
what it
it's
is.
just like Holly would say, Mother Nature will surprise us at times. I know that there are areas that are blooming like crazy like right now. There are areas in the Carrizo Plain, which is very close to Tulare County, and that are blooming. And if you're interested in wildflowers, but have a high clearance vehicle, check out Carrizo Plain.
Carrizo Plain's neat. It's like an ancient Dead Sea, like a salt plain
Yeah.
as well at one part of it. It's a trip out there. But here's the thing, it is a
I've driven
beautiful
it in
drive.
I've driven it in my Prius.
You
So
see,
you can do it if you go slow.
yeah, you have to know what you're wanting to do. Yeah, there's just so many beautiful drives to get into your area, and then the whole area is just in bloom and gorgeous. So lots to experience. And if it's not a super bloom, you got giant trees, you got, flowers up in the stone fruit land. So there's something for everyone. So I say make your plans and get going. Get going out there. So, ladies, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure doing these shows with you and letting people know about all the great things happening in California, Sequoia country. So check out the episode notes, everyone. Happy spring. I feel like I'm going to go run around outside like a dog. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country Show. New episodes air every first Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can keep up with the show at bigblendradio.com, but also plan your Tulare County escape. Go to discoverthesequoias.com.